Bitcoin and all of crypto has been in a downwards roller coaster for the past 3 months. In this video, I'm going to share with you guys some major macro events to watch out for, plus a chart that I made that could potentially predict where Bitcoin is headed in the next coming months. First thing you need to watch out for is the reduction of quantitative tightening. So for those of you that don't know, quantitative tightening, or QT, is essentially the government taking money away from the banks, and this is going to be reduced. Therefore, the banks will have more money to loan out, increasing the overall money supply. The reduction of QT actually started back in June of 2024 of last year. However, on April 1st, there's supposed to be another reduction of QT, and this is important because, like I said, quantitative tightening is where the government is taking money away from the banks and they have less money. So eventually when QT ends, the banks will have more money, as I said. But that's not the important thing. The important part is that we will then head into quantitative easing, or QE, where the government starts printing money and injecting liquidity into the banks, giving the banks more money to loan out to the average person, therefore increasing the overall money supply. So to be honest, one of the most important things that we're waiting for this bull run to start is quantitative easing. So when the banks have more money to give out to the average person, there's just going to be more liquidity injected into the average person's pocket, therefore more money to spend on stocks and crypto. When will QE start? And this is one of the most important things for QE to start, but we need some things to happen before that. And one of the things that we need to happen is very low or negative inflation. So one chart that actually tracks inflation is CPI, or the Consumer Price Index, and we actually saw a lower inflation rate back in February, so hopefully that continues. But what we also need, in addition to low inflation, is rate cuts from the feds. So at every FOMC meeting, this is when the Federal Reserve talks about cutting interest rates or raising interest rates, and the next one is on May 7th, which is in about a little over a month, depending on when I actually post this video. But however, the rate cuts haven't been priced into the May 7th meeting. There will be another meeting in June where it's about a 50% chance that they're going to cut rates. So June FOMC meeting is the one that we're really looking out for. However, we want more rate cuts to lead to quantitative easing. The FOMC typically meets 8 times a year, and we've already seen them meet twice, once in January and once in March. So the next two are in May and June. The real thing that we need is rate cuts to happen, and it's right now predicted that we'll see between 1 and 3 rate cuts for 2025. So the earlier we get that first rate cut could potentially lead to more rate cuts throughout the rest of the year. Hopefully we may see a rate cut, probably not, but it's been priced in, like I said, a 50-50 chance by the June FOMC meeting. So hopefully we can get some more low inflation rates and some rate cuts coming in the next several months, because most of this revolves around heading into QE, quantitative easing, where the government just starts printing money. And this is our major thing that we need for alt season, which is in a chart that I'm going to show you later in this video about Bitcoin and how it could potentially predict Bitcoin, and it directly ties to the US government starting QE and printing money and liquidity into everyone's pockets. Another major macro event that you need to keep an eye on are Trump's tariffs that he has been importing, and it's been bad but could potentially be good for the markets. So the next set of tariffs that Trump is planning to impose are supposed to take place on April 2nd. And I'll probably post this video after April 2nd. So we'll see how this actually affects the market. So usually the tariffs have been causing a lot of fear in the markets and have been lowering the price of all of us, not only stocks, but crypto as well. And it's been a constant game right now between a lot of fear between this global trade war and the global liquidity index rising, which has been causing prices of stocks and crypto to rise as well. So it's been a constant battle between the trade war and the global liquidity going up. So now a chart that I made that a lot of people have been talking about that has literally tracked the price of Bitcoin with 80 to 90% accuracy over the past 14 months. And this is obviously Bitcoin, which are the red and green candles you see, and then the black line, which represents the M2 Global Liquidity Index, which is basically the amount of circulating money in everyone's pockets or in the entire world. These two charts really started connecting and tying up closely together when Bitcoin got approved for its ETFs in January of 2024. And since that, over the past 14 months, Bitcoin has actually been lagging behind the M2 Global Liquidity Index for about 2 to 3 months. So as you can see, I've pushed forward the Global Liquidity Index about 7 weeks, so about 70 days, which is why this chart goes ahead in front. However, if you put the chart ahead 70 days, you can see the lag that Bitcoin has had, and it's literally following the chart of the global liquidity index by around 2 to 3 months. It's falling behind it. This is because when money first goes into everyone's pockets, it goes into more safer investments like real estate, businesses, or the stock market, and then eventually after a 2 to 3 month lag, it flows into more riskier assets such as cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. The real thing to watch out for here is if Bitcoin is going to more react closely to this global trade war and all the macro events that are happening around that, or the actual global liquidity index. But the thing that needs to be said here is that the overall money supply in the world has been going up, and this is without the US government printing money and being in quantitative easing like I explained in this video. I'm telling you guys, once the US starts entering QE and starts printing money, loading liquidity into the banks and giving money out, this black line will absolutely skyrocket, which is what we saw back in COVID. Right now, if Bitcoin continues its trail for the next 2 to 3 months, following the global liquidity index, I do think that by this would be around the end of May, we could see Bitcoin go back to its previous all-time highs around the $108,000 mark. However, whenever the US government starts QE, I do think that the global liquidity index will skyrocket, and that is when we'll actually see Bitcoin head to $150,000 to $200,000. But until that happens, right now, we're just kind of following this chart and reacting to the global trade war. So I think we're honestly just going to go sideways, maybe up, down a little bit until the US government starts QE, because that is when we're going to see the global liquidity index skyrocket, when the US government starts printing money, because the US dollar is one of the most powerful currencies in the world, and this will skyrocket the global liquidity. You guys can see how closely the global liquidity index and Bitcoin is together when it trails around 2 to 3 months, but obviously anything could happen. I do think that it is very interesting to closely watch this chart, and it's kind of crazy how over the past 14 months, how Bitcoin has actually trailed the global liquidity index. So I do think it is a good idea to watch it closely. Don't go solely based on the global liquidity index. Like I said, it's not 100% one-to-one with a 2 to 3 month lag behind. It's only about 80 to 90%. So with certain macro events like the tariffs, that could dramatically change the market and make it super volatile, which makes it unconnect from the global liquidity. So point of this video, guys, is to show you that I do think the real bull market is still on. However, it just can't happen until the United States government enters quantitative easing and starts injecting liquidity and printing money to give out to banks, and then the banks will have more money in return to give out loans to the average person. It's going to be easier for the average person to go to the bank and get a loan. They use loans, like I said, to invest in real estate, businesses, stock markets, and when they have even more money to toss around, into crypto. So that is the big indicator that I think that we're really waiting for this bull market to go crazy, not only for Bitcoin, but for Ethereum and all our altcoins and meme coins as well. And of course, none of this is financial advice. Please make sure you guys do your own research on everything that I talked about in this video, but I do think that it is good information for you to gain some knowledge on and do your own research. And in the link in the description of my bio, I do have my own free Discord that you guys can go in and join. I do give a lot of updates daily on the market analysis and what's going on in the market in general, and on some of the coins that I am currently watching, whether they're altcoins or meme coins. If you guys are looking for something more sophisticated, I do recommend Champs Only. That is a fantastic group. I am in that group. They have so many tools and utilities in there. You really get 10x the value. I do have an affiliate link down below in the description for that as well. Also, please make sure to go follow my Twitter account. You need to be on crypto Twitter daily to get constant updates on market analysis of what is going on, and to make sure that you're up to date and don't miss out on anything. So make sure to go follow my crypto Twitter, because I post daily on there giving alpha. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you learned something. Please make sure to like the video, leave a comment if you have any questions, subscribe to the channel, and as always, I will see you in the next one.